Awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the December Renewable Heat Now Power Hour. I put my lightning bolt in the background specifically for our power hour today. Um, let's go to the next slide. Just want to run through the agenda with you all tonight. So we're going to talk. If you're just joining, just throw in the chat your name, your pronouns, where you're signing in from, and if you want to, say your favorite thing about winter, we would love to hear that. Um, so we're going to go through like what renewable heat now is, just to get everybody on the same page. We might have some new folks joining us tonight, and then we're going to do a little celebration of all of the amazing things that we have done. Um, and then we're going to walk through our strategy and our timeline to pass New York Heat. We're going to talk about how lobbying has been going. And we're going to also do a mini lobby training just to refresh our memories to get us ready for 2024. We'll break out into a couple of small groups with our buddies and just do some lobbying practicing. And then we're going to walk through the actions that we have planned starting tomorrow and next week, and then what's going to happen after we rest up after the new year, what our year is going to look like. You can go to the next slide. Great. So this is an awesome photo of us in Albany. And I just wanted to point out like what we all together, because of all of you, made possible this year in 2023. Go to the next slide. We did have a little video planned for you all, but it didn't get finished in time, but that's okay. I just wanted to let folks know that, we had this amazing, we had a couple of tours this year. One was a big ice cream tour going around the city of New York. We had different, a whole bunch of different tour stops handing out free ice cream and telling people about the New York heat bill. And then we also had an amazing tour throughout the fall through the whole entire state, 13 different locations where we served hot chili for New York Heat, and we got together with neighbors, introduced them to what the New York Heat bill is all about, and we met some local organizations that are working on this bill. We also sent a bunch of letters to the governor's office. One was from organizations from across the state, and over 200 organizations signed on. And then we also had a legislative letter from elected officials going to the governor, and that was over 90 elected officials in New York supporting the New York Heat Act. We passed the New York Heat Act in the Senate this year. That was a huge win. And we did lots of other, we had a power hour every single month and each power hour just grew exponentially. So our movement is growing. I'm very excited about where we're going to take this next year. Go ahead to the next slide. So just to remind us, why are we focused on buildings at Renewable Heat Now? We're focused on buildings for our part of the climate activism work because buildings are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the whole state. And that's because we burn fossil fuels for heating, for hot water, for cooking. Methane leaks across all of the pipelines that come into our homes and buildings to get there. So that's really why we are 100% focused on buildings. Go to the next slide, please. And we know what justice looks like. We know that if we transition and we only the people that can afford to move to renewable energy can get renewable energy, that leaves out a huge chunk of our population. And really, it's the most vulnerable people in our population that we really need to be caring for. And so the New York heat bill really focuses on that. We made sure that the language of the bill focuses not only on attacking climate change, but also focuses on jobs and economy, health and safety, and energy and affordability. So go to the next slide. Okay, so let's break it down. Climate change. So the language in the bill will discontinue a lot of old rules that are locking us into climate catastrophe, that are part of the public service law. And we're looking to amend language that is like ages old and antiquated, and we need to move and align our laws so they can comply with our climate laws. And it allows our state to really invest in efficient and electric buildings. We know that from, climate change, a lot of us, if you were in New York this past summer, anywhere in New York or in the region, we were really choking because of climate changing wildfires up in Canada. And, it's touched every single one of us through a hurricane, through a heat wave. It's here. Climate change is not something that's in the future. It is in our present, and we have to address it. Next slide. Burning fossil fuels is putting our safety at risk and most definitely our health at risk. We really need to be able to free ourselves from the health burdens that attack our population, and especially the most vulnerable people in our population. So we want to really stop the sources of the pollution, and the New York Heat Act is one way to do that. Next slide. We want to support a massive net positive jobs creator. So we want to ensure that the New York Heat Act is going to be able to facilitate a just transition for workers. A lot of the workers that are building fossil fuels right now, they have so many amazing skills, and they'll be able to transition us to renewable technology as we start moving our buildings that demand that technology. Next slide. And energy affordability. So the language of the New York Heat Act caps bills at 6% of household income. And this is going to assure that nobody gets left behind during the transition to clean energy. So on average, that will save New Yorkers $75 a month, looking at an average bill. And that's huge. That's food, that's money for groceries, for transportation, for anything that you need for your family or for yourself. Go ahead to the next slide. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Liz, who's going to walk us through the Albany timeline and how the budget works. Take it away, Liz.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kim. And hi, everybody. My name is Liz Moran. I am the New York Policy Advocate with Earth Justice. It's exciting to be with you this evening. As Kim just laid out, we have been building a ton of momentum for NYE, and this is the year we're going to get it. So to walk you through the strategy, timeline, and how we plan to get here and get NYE, best way to start is by walking through the timeline that we have to deal with. So hard to believe it, 2024 is right around the corner, and pretty much as soon as we hit the new year, we're going to be starting the state legislative session. State legislative session is going to begin January 3rd. So just about a week after that, you see that the governor will issue her State of the State address. For those of you who are not familiar with that process, this is in many ways a document that's outlining the governor's priorities for the state. And it can touch upon a number of issues that some of which may be in the state budget, some might just be policy priorities, but it's a really good guide for what the governor's going to care about coming into this year. So for us, we want to be on the lookout for anything that nods or mentions NYE, and hopefully she'll have that in her State of the State. But not too long after that, January 16th is the statutory deadline for the governor to release her budget. So that's where it'll be really critical to make sure that the governor has NY Heat in that executive budget proposal. That's the first step in the state's budget process and begins the negotiating to lead to the final. So the next key thing after the governor issues her executive budget is to then pressure each house of the legislature. Because then, after the governor's put her proposal forward, the Senate and the Assembly come up with their own versions of the budget. Now, as Kim mentioned, the Senate passed NY Heat last year as a standalone bill. They also included NY Heat as part of their one house budget last year. So we kind of know going into this, the Senate is likely to be our ally. So that means we're going to have to put a lot of pressure on the Assembly to make sure that they're on the same page. So that happens until March. Hopefully at that point, we've got NY Heat in some manner or another in all three of the budgets. And then by April 1st, that's the statutory deadline for the budget. Hopefully it is on time. It isn't always. Sometimes statutory is a loose word when it comes to Albany. And then, hopefully NY Heat is done in the budget. If it's not, then we have to keep fighting because NY Heat does exist as a standalone bill. And then June 6th, we finally get to say goodbye to our fair lawmakers of Albany and they go back home to their districts. So the next slide, talk about what we're doing, how this fits in the pieces of the timeline. So right now, you joined us for one of our power hours. We also are teaching people about NY Heat on Friday. So folks should join for that to really learn about this legislation and all of the great things it does to help protect New Yorkers. There's call relay going on right now. Make sure you've signed up. We want to make sure that the governor is hearing us. And that's something to bear in mind. Until the governor releases her executive budget, the governor is really our primary target. Because if she includes NY Heat in the executive budget, we're in a much stronger place to get it in the final. So we're also going to be lifting our voices on social media, and that's going to continue into January. In January, we're going to have to keep a close eye on the State of the State address. We'll release a statement in response to that to help keep building the pressure, regardless of what is said in the State of the State address. We'll keep working with the existing champions of the legislation, the many sponsors of the bill, to pressure their leadership. And then, of course, we're going to keep building our grassroots base of support. We're going to keep providing opportunities for all of you to tell Albany they need to act on climate. We need NY Heat. So there's going to be another power hour. And then mark your calendars. This is a really key thing. There's going to be a big rally in Albany on January 23rd. This is absolutely essential. These rallies make a really big difference. They demonstrate to leadership in Albany that a lot of New Yorkers care about this. So after that, in February, there's the opportunity for budget hearings. This is something that is standard every year following the executive budget proposal, where the legislature hears from organizations, members of the public, the agencies about the budget and other legislative priorities. So there can be opportunities with the budget hearings. We're going to keep doing a lot of the same things that we were doing before with legislators that are supporters, social media. We're going to have in-district meetings with legislators the week of February 19th. We're going to keep that pressure going, right? Until the budget is finalized, we have to make sure that we do not stop. So in March, details await us, but there'll probably be another mobilization to make sure that this final budget is as strong as possible. We'll keep meeting with lawmakers. There's a really good chance we'll have a lot of call relays to be doing, and we'll have to keep it up on social media. Then, before we know it, it'll be April. We'll have to respond to what's in the budget. And I think with a strategy like this, we've got a really good shot at getting this. But doesn't mean we give up if it's not there. We'll keep going. We'll make sure that the legislature knows they can't leave town without passing this bill. Next slide. So lobbying is a key part of this. And as Earth Justice and New York policy advocate, one of my primary roles is as a lobbyist for my organization. Lobbyist kind of has this like dirty connotation, which can be fair, but anyone can lobby. The idea of lobbying is really just speaking to elected officials and explaining to them why a policy matter is important to you. And for many of you as constituents, your voice is going to be really impactful to lawmakers. In fact, probably far more than mine is, because they care about their voters. They want to get back into office, you know? So your voice has a lot of power. So I'm going to explain to you how you can lobby effectively, some do's and don'ts. Next slide. All right. So what do you want to do for a lobby meeting? And I promise you, it's really not hard to lobby. Don't be intimidated by lawmakers or staff. You have a lot of power in this equation. So number one, you want to be on time. That's going to be important, right? Like making sure that you're in the room, you have enough time to go through everything you want to go through. It's just common courtesy. Um, be open-minded. You know, you want to make sure that you look open to lawmakers and their staff and what they're thinking and feeling. That usually is good at kind of convincing people to come to your side. Be concise. NYHEAT is a complicated piece of legislation, but we're going to make sure that we give you talking points to make this as simple as possible. Don't get too in the weeds. Sometimes you can, sometimes the lawmakers want you to. But generally speaking, you have limited time, so you're going to want to be as concise as possible. Practice your micro story. So Kim is going to talk about this in a moment and teach you how to do this. But a micro story refers to how a policy or how this connects to you personally. Why do you want to get this done? That's something that makes what you're saying to lawmakers particularly compelling. And what can help with that to some degree is researching the legislator you're lobbying beforehand. Know where they're coming from. What sort of thing are they going to care about? Did they have, you know, an extreme weather event recently that impacted their district? Might be worth mentioning that and why they should care about something like NY heat. Are they facing major rate increases with their utility? That's the kind of stuff that can be really helpful going into a lobby meeting. And then most importantly, make sure you have a really clear ask. In this case, most of the time we're going to be asking lawmakers to ensure that the NY Heat Act is in the one house budgets. But you know, there are some things that you definitely shouldn't do. You're not going to know the answer to every question, most likely. And most people are not going to expect you to know all the answers. So don't answer questions you don't know the answer to. Make sure that you say, I don't know, but we'll be sure to follow up with you. It can be tempting to get into tit for tat, especially sometimes things get a little heated, no pun intended. Do your best not to get defensive. Don't try to make it a debate. Try not to dominate the conversation. You know, ideally, you'll have pauses in your lobby meetings where you'll open the opportunities for lawmakers or their staff to ask you questions. You want to try your best to be able to make it an exchange. And then this can happen quite easily. Sometimes lawmakers like to throw in things to distract you. Do your best to not. Try to stay on theme or bring it back to the topic right away. So with those points in mind, excuse me, I'm going to turn it back over to Kim so she can teach you how to create a micro story.
Hey, everybody. Um, could we go to the next slide? Cool. So I made these little slides just with some just general ideas of like how you like to introduce yourself. Like when I go into a legislator's office, you know, there's usually like a minute to sort of like break the ice. And it is really good to let them know who you are and why you care about this stuff and why, you know, you're interested in climate activism or environmental justice or labor justice or any of the things that the New York Heat Act is taking care of. So I just put up a couple of examples. This is Tanya. She represents 14 small farm businesses from Fayetteville, New York. And climate change is harming her family, her other farm co-ops in her area, and she wants to make sure that her legislative representative takes climate action seriously so we can have so her business can flourish. So that's like a really good way for just to humanize yourself to them. They see, especially on lobby days, they'll see like a ton of people coming in and out, and it's like our job to kind of, sell the legislation to them and explain why it's important to you. You can click on the next slide. Here's another woman, Laurel. Her husband suffers with COPD. They live near a fracked gas power plant near Dover, New York. It's the Cricket Valley Power Plant. Boo, hiss. And she wants to see the New York Heat Act passed so to get us off fracked gas, and so she doesn't want her family to develop other respiratory diseases. Next slide. And this is Fernando. Him and his wife, they just had their very first child, and they need funding to make sure their baby is healthy and safe in the winter and warm, and they feel like safe in their home. Um, they have experienced utility shutoffs, and because they haven't been able to pay their national grid bill. So they know that like passing the New York Heat Act would personally affect them because it would cap their energy bill at 6% of their household income. Right now, it's like 10% or more for household income, comparatively to an average bill. Um, and so, and just personally, like my story is like I grew up in Pennsylvania. A lot of people, I grew up in a bunch of different places in Pennsylvania, and people that I know are affected by fracking, and they can't drink their water and bathe their children in the water that comes out of their house. So, when I moved to New York, I became a huge, anti-fracking activist, which led me to, all this policy stuff. So it's good for people to hear your story and to like kind of know like where you're coming from personally and why this is important to you, because it just like personalizes it and helps break the ice. um can you go to the next slide? Okay, cool. So we're gonna do a little breakout, and if you wish to break dance during the breakout, you are more than welcome to. When I put this little breakout picture in the slide, I was like, this is breakdance time. So we thought, let's all just think for a second of like your name, like think about like who you are and like who do you represent, like who's in your neighborhood or who's in your organization or who is your family. And why do you care about this issue? Like you personally, why are you involved in the renewable heat now? And we're gonna just, I don't know, practice it with each other. It's cool, it's fun, and it also gives us an opportunity to get to know each other because we're all going to be in Albany together next month doing this together. Um, I don't know who's operating the breakout,
Yeah,
Miranda,
I've
but
got it. Kim, this is Lisa. So I'm going to send everyone to a random breakout room. Please, and then we're going to be in there for like 10 or 15 minutes and we're going to go around and practice. Oh, I didn't know I was spotlighted and practice our micro stories with each other. And then we'll come back. Please make sure you do come back though into the main room because we're all going to then go to Andra, who's going to lead us through taking a bunch of actions and doing a bunch of signups together. So I'm going to send you into the breakout rooms now. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had fun in your breakout rooms. I know I did. So Claire, whenever you're ready, let's go back to the slides and our wonderful friend Andra from Agree is going to walk us through signing up for all the upcoming actions and closing out the year strong with some final actions for December. So next slide, Claire. There we go. Okay, Andra, you ready?
I am ready. So thanks, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the upcoming actions. I'm unmuted. Okay, we're all good. So what we have coming up, the biggest thing we have coming up, the thing that we need your help with, I would say the most, is getting people to Albany on Tuesday, January 23rd. We got about 200 people to Albany last year when we went in January, and it was amazing. We crowded the $1 million staircase. We went up to the next level. We filled that lobby at the base of the staircase. We need to make it 300 this time, right? When you do something so amazing the first time, you're kind of like, well, can we do better? But we can. So I encourage everybody to register for the event. That way you will get update info. You'll find out where the buses are coming from. Claire in Rochester and Agree in Syracuse have secured a bus that will be going from Rochester through Syracuse, through Utica to Albany on the 23rd. We're so proud. We're not going to leave anyone behind. And we're also going to have a bus from Manhattan, as we usually do. We're working on finding locations where to stop in the Hudson Valley, and we're also organizing carpools. And all of that information you can access on that registration form. So thank you very much, Kim, for posting that. And I'm ready for the next slide. Oh, all right, postcards to the governor. So we are sending postcards to the governor. We delivered about 3,000 of them just last month on the 30th. But now we are still taking online postcard signatures to keep that drumbeat going. So Governor Hochul gets those postcards, online postcards delivered to her whenever you sign them. So her people are going to see that this is still an ongoing thing. The postcard asks for the New York Heat Act to be put into the executive budget and outlines a few of the reasons why. Okay, what's the next slide? What's our next action? Oh, the call relay. This has been amazing. So sometimes we do call relays when we want to have the office flooded for a certain issue. And oh yes, call right now, the call today. So for a certain issue. So we want the governor to put New York Heat Act into her executive budget. So Monday, we started setting up the call relay. We made the form and we decided to have calls made every 5 minutes. And we got it out to people on Wednesday. And oh my goodness, today we already had 75 to 80 calls made to the governor. We filled their answering machine and we kept their staff people busy answering calls. And tomorrow's sheet still has a few spaces open in it. But if you look at the sheet for the call relay for Friday and you see that the spot that is convenient for you is taken, don't worry. You can still make a call at that time, but just add your name to the bottom of the list and tell us that you made the call and how it went. So if we can get another 75 to 80 calls tomorrow, I'm going to be ecstatic. Next slide, please.
Let's give folks a couple of minutes to take those actions real quick.
Okay.
We have time. Make sure they know how to find the Friday tab in the call relay sheet because there's 2 tabs. Sorry to interrupt you, Andra.
That's okay. And I can also answer a question. Can you sign the online card multiple times? Yes, you can. Maybe you forgot if you did it before. I always say, if you think you may not have done it, do it again. It doesn't matter if it's 2 times. And it's also something, that link is really easy to send around if you have friends who you email with or text with. It can just be, hey, this is a super easy thing you can do. Just fill this out. It takes less than a minute.
I think the postcard link also was not correct. So let's give folks a minute for that to do that.
Oh, it's missing the bit.ly. Let me put that in from my link here. Hold on just a sec.
I'm gonna I'll hyperlink it. Andrea,
Okay,
don't
thank
worry
you.
about it. Yeah, no problem. There you go.
Oh, it's exciting to be in this spreadsheet and see people signing up for the calls tomorrow. There's still some empty spots though, all the way from 2:10 to 3:20 is open. And from 3:35 to 3:55. So we definitely need everyone on this call right now to fill in one of those slots, except for those of you who already did it. I see some familiar names in there.
It's interesting to see that a lot of us are morning people, that we prefer to get things done in the morning and be like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, today was amazing. And the call relay is just such a good feeling. You get that quick reminder from the person in line ahead of you, and then you make your call, and then you remind the next person. And it's just a really great feeling. And it only takes 5 minutes. So
And sometimes we worry that we ask too much when we ask people to sign up for a call relay. But this time we noticed that people were kind of asking, so when's the next one? And people have kind of missed it because our last one was, several months ago. So I'm glad to know that everybody enjoys this. So I'm ready to move on whenever you think that we have filled enough slots on that form.
let me take another look at the spreadsheet. Is anybody having trouble finding where you go to tomorrow's call relay? If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the spreadsheet, you'll see it says Thursday, December 14th and Friday, December 15th, and you have to click on the Friday. And that's where you'll find the Friday call relay. Okay, Andra, go ahead and go to
Okay.
the next.
So tomorrow, New Yorkers for Clean Power is hosting a teach-in on the New York Heat Act. And we've been calling this the deep dive that people have been requesting from us. So we're going to have Chris Casey from NRDC, Allison Considine from the Building Decarbonization Coalition, and our own Jessica Agelet from Agree, presenting, like, sort of unloading everything they know about the New York Heat Act. So I think everyone should definitely register for this teach-in, even if you can't attend, because if you register, you will receive the recording afterwards, and then you can just enjoy it Friday night, maybe with a cup of tea or a beer. Yes, three amazing people saying, things that you really want to know for background when you're going to be talking to your legislators. Here is the registration link for the next Power Hour. January 18th. It's coming 5 days before our Albany mobilization, so you will definitely want to join. You want to find out all the latest updates about what's going to be going on in Albany, get all the links to the materials that we will have for you that you will need to go to Albany. If you came with us last year, the Renewable Heat Now campaign was advocating for a package of bills. This year is going to be much more streamlined and simpler. We're going to have the New York Heat Act that we're talking about. So I think it will be much more of an enjoyable day for everybody because you will not be shuffling through papers. You will have your one paper or your two papers, and you'll just be like very comfortable and conversant about this bill by the time that you get there on the 23rd. And if you can't go to Albany, we're going to have some remote actions that you can take on the 23rd. We're going to have a social media campaign. It's going to be rolled out in the coming weeks, and we'll let everybody know about that because you can even participate in that when you're on the bus or in your carpool going to or from Albany. So we're going to have a big, exciting time together, but also have the ripple effect going across the state. And finally, yes, this is next week's action. A lot of us are going on vacation and taking breaks, but we can also take a picture of ourselves and put it up on social media, because that's probably a lot of what we're going to be doing during the holidays anyway. So we want to concentrate this social media action on Wednesday, December 20th. We have this sign up form for you. Here we go. We've got Lisa in Horseheads. We've got Kim in Brooklyn. And we have this random person showing how much fun you can have with your selfie photo and a glass of wine. So if you have a Renewable Heat Now t-shirt, we're asking that you wear your shirt. A lot of people got them during the Chile tour. If you happen to be in Syracuse or somewhere near, where's Horseheads near? Is it near Elmira?
Yep.
Yeah, or near Elmira, you can pick up shirts from me or from Lisa, or you can hold up a sign that says Renewable Heat Now or Pass the New York Heat Act. We have all that in the toolkit. So there is a toolkit linked in that form. So again, I urge you to sign up on the form. And that way you will get all the updates and reminders and information about how to do this. So our vision was to have these pictures of people in these shirts or with these signs taking a shot that demonstrates your location, where you're from. I'm going to drive out to the boundary of Syracuse and take my picture with a welcome to Syracuse sign. So in every place, there's something, right, that you want to show the governor why it matters that she puts the New York Heat Act in the budget. And we have in the toolkit that's linked in the form, a lot of sample tweets. We have the hashtags that we're going to be using for that day and the handles so that you can tag the photos and so that the governor will be getting repeated notifications that we are talking to her that day. And next slide. Okay, so here is everything. Remember to register for the teach-in, sign up for the call relay, sign the digital postcard, sign up for January 23rd, register for the January Power Hour, and sign up for the social media action. And I will pop all those links one more time into the chat. And you know, these things really don't take very much time at all. And oh, my message is too long. I cannot put them all in at the same time. Sorry, folks. We will send all the links that you need to everybody in an email in the coming days. So either tomorrow or Monday, look for an email from us and it will have all the links that you need. I think I'm done. I think it goes back to Kim now.
Back to Kim. Thank you, Andra. That was so great. And we'll need all of your help to get tomorrow's call relay filled to the brim with every slot signed up for. So we'll be.
Cool. I didn't realize it was returning to me, but yeah, I just made this sign because yeah, I feel like we've all been through the mill a lot lately. It seems like a lot of people that we work with are, you know, tired and exhausted. It's been a really long year. There's a lot of tough things going on in the world. And, you know, make sure you take care of yourself and you rest and you recuperate if you can, this, you know, for the holidays that are upcoming, or just take some time for yourself in the morning to breathe or just relax. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, you know, we can't take care of our sacred earth and our communities. So, you know, just to keep going, everybody. We're really, really glad that you joined us tonight, and we hope to see you very soon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. We'll leave the Zoom open for a couple more minutes so you can grab those links. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you for being part of this beautiful campaign. We can't wait to win big things with you next year. Thank you to our wonderful host tonight, our whole team here. We have Kim, Andra, Claire, Diana, Liz, and there's just some of the many faces that make up the beautiful tapestry of Renewable Heat Now. And I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow on the teach-in.
Bye, y'all.